Greetings sailors and welcome back to World of Warships and a look at a brand new ship, in that it's sort of technically not out right now, except it sort of technically is, because if you have Amazon Prime linked to your Wargaming account, you can in fact get to play this, the Ruyter. Now this is the tier 4 Dutch light cruiser. This is one of the actually existed ships in the tech tree. And as an additional note, there's one on the enemy team as well, being captained by Tucky there, who is a member of the Wargaming EU World of Warships staff. So we have basically Ruyter versus Ruyter, and there's also double carriers in this game as well for that extra bit of fun, because everybody loves double CVs. The AA on this isn't too bad though. I mean, it's actually quite decent for being a tier 4 cruiser. I think it's certainly better than a lot of the other tier 4 cruisers. Not particularly long ranged, but the DPS is somewhat okay. However, that's going to be less of a concern for most of this game. We will get to see some of the AA in action, but for most of this I'm just going to be doing twisty-turny light cruiser things. So the ship itself has 7 150mm guns. It's got a slightly unusual arrangement in that one of the front turrets is a single. The others are double, and then both the back turrets are doubles. So yeah, 7 150mm guns, both HE and AP, so nothing special there. The shells themselves seem to be perfectly fine. I don't think there's anything particularly out of the ordinary about them. You'll get me to see both the AP and the HE in this game. The range is alright. It's actually pretty decent for a tier 4 cruiser. It's not the best at this tier, far from it, but it's got a very respectable 13.8 plus a spotter, so the spotter actually is really very useful. And on top of that, of course, you have the hydro as well. Now this being the tier 4, you don't have access to the airstrike just yet. That's not until tier 6 with the... it's something like Kijk doen? Something like that. I'm probably pronouncing that slightly wrong, but anyway, Dutch is weird, you guys. But yeah, up until that tier anyway, they're basically just a fairly normal line of light cruisers, and it's only tier 6 and above that they become a little bit different. So that's one destroyer down and a nice kill. And this Taranto was looking like they were giving me a nice bit of broadside, but they've actually angled a bit, so yeah, we're going to stick with the HE. Although, there we go. Well, there's Tucky giving me a bit of broadside now as well. So, trying the AP. It's a 9-second reload on this, which is fine. It's nothing super special. I can't remember how that compares to the Phoenix, actually. The Phoenix is one of my favourite tier 4 cruisers. Also very, very fragile. But not like the Omaha, it's kind of ringed with guns. But I don't think it's got quite as many as the Omaha, and it's probably not too far off reload-wise. Now I do have a battleship here. It's not just me trying to take on all this lot myself. I do at least have the speed and relatively good stealth. I think this thing is, what, 10.5 kilometers? And the speed is actually quite nice as well. So I don't know if this could be argued as maybe power creeping some of the existing tier 4 cruisers. I mean, some of them, for instance, like the Karlsruhe, really aren't that good at all. But the Karlsruhe at least can boast torpedoes. That's one thing that the Dutch cruiser line does not have, is torpedoes. And I don't know if that was something to do with the Dutch Navy's philosophy on how they expected to use their cruisers. Maybe they figured it would be purely down to destroyers to use torps. Somebody that knows a bit more about Dutch naval history of that period can maybe put something in the comments. But anyway, yeah, sometimes that's a little bit of an issue. I found that once or twice when it'd be really nice to have some torpedoes. In fact, you'll see that in this game. There's this one moment especially where some torpedoes would have been very, very useful. But no, you just have to purely rely on your guns. So I'm taking advantage of the island and the spotting that the Wyoming is giving me. The majority of my team, as you can see, has pushed around from the north and is actually making some inroads there. So this so far looks like it's going alright. This is looking like I'm just going to have to stymie the enemy team from pushing around this flank. And if I get the chance to pick on people that have turned around to go back to defend, well, that will be quite nice. And if not, well, I've got the speed maybe to get through the middle, because Solomon Islands is not especially a big map. It's one of those maps where if you can get top tier in a situation like this, even in relatively short ranged cruisers, it doesn't really matter, because it just isn't, you know, it's not a very large area. The downside is, of course, if you're in something where you're trying to be sneaky, like a destroyer or a cruiser, yeah, you're not going to be able to do that if there's CVs in play, just because you are never very far away from planes incoming. So time for some AP against this broadside Trento. They're not angling at all this time, totally focused on the reversing Wyoming. So there we go, there's Citadel, which is not bad. And if I can finish off the St. Louis as well before they manage to make a getaway, that would also be quite nice. That then just leaves that Allegheny. It looks like Tucky has gone back to the cap. There we go. So yeah, you can see the other Ruyter on the map has gone to try and help out their allies. And at the moment, that's also where the complete focus of the enemy carriers is. Maybe our carriers at this point could have been helping more with there, although that's obviously something of a concentration of AA, so I can possibly understand why our carriers would be more inclined to go after this Dante Alighieri. They're also looking at me at the moment, which I'm not too keen on, so I'm trying to keep some distance here and also angling such that I can potentially wiggle. This was quite a nice situation in just being a tier 4 light cruiser generally, of having a battleship nearby to soak up the attention. So although I've taken some hits myself, they have so heavily focused that Wyoming that I've been able to basically just keep pew-pewing away. And now it's just down to a battleship versus a battleship. The Wyoming is definitely maybe doing the wrong... Well, definitely maybe. I'm good at English, you guys. They're possibly doing the wrong thing here in coming forwards like this. If it had been me, I'd have tried to keep my distance a bit. Because, well, now there's the possibility of ramming occurring, and it would be nice not to lose that Wyoming. From a hit points point of view, obviously it would be a trade in our favour, but losing a battleship's worth of guns somewhat unnecessarily doesn't really feel like it's worth it. And I can't really tell if the Wyoming's going for the ram. The Allegheny certainly is accepting the ram, if that's what the Wyoming had in mind. But yeah, I mean, okay, we kind of came out on top of that one, but having another ship still on this flank able to put in some crossfire would have been quite useful. Instead, they're gone as well. So yeah, that's not the best trade in the world, but it's not the worst trade in the world either. So while that's all been going on, my allies have been steadily chipping away at those ships that were on that flank and that came back. This does put carriers almost in range of my guns, and in fact, if I pop a spotter, I can shoot that Rhine right now. But the bad news is that there's not a lot left of those ships that were attacking. They haven't been able to... I mean, they've gotten some kills, but it's not been totally decisive. So it could go either way. It'd be nice if they could take out the Karlsruhe and Tucky in the De Ruyter, of course, but I can't really do anything to directly help them at the moment other than pick on this Rhine. And less air power bugging my allies is obviously going to be a good thing, but it also means that if everybody does get sunk, if it all goes wrong, which it might, you never know in World of Warships, then there will at least not be enemy carriers to worry about anymore, hopefully. Well, certainly the Rhine. The Rhine I am just steadily chipping away at here, and they're not too happy about it, as you can see, as they keep sending planes at me. So the Karlsruhe's down, but we also lost a destroyer in the process. Tucky, that's his second kill. I'm on my third. If I can get the Rhine, I'll be on my fourth. You actually got to see the new strafe mechanic in progress, in action. That's the word I'm looking for there. Doesn't really matter so much with the AP rockets when I can angle against them like that. But with the HE rockets, it's certainly nicer to be on the receiving end of when you have that little bit of extra grace period. I almost think maybe they could have left the AP rockets alone in that regard, but I don't know. Anyway, so Tucky has actually managed to kill those last two ships there, and still has a somewhat decent amount of health remaining. And here's where this is that moment where having some torpedoes would have been very, very useful, because I'm just relying on my own reload at the moment, and I don't know if do I even have. I think I do have Adrenaline Rush. I'm now a sub 9 second reload, so yeah, I'm getting some benefit. This is only a 10-point captain on this. I think it came with a 6-point captain, and I used some elite captain XP to bump that up a little bit so I could get concealment expert. Anyway, very close range, only overpens there. You really have to hit the citadel to not just get overpens. And the German carriers are a little funny in that regard. Actually, trying to get the citadels can be a bit tricky. So that's the Rhine out of the way, and actually you can see Tucky has quite a lot of health. So yeah, I don't quite know what was happening with my allies, but I guess they were shooting at everything but Tucky for the most part. There's one survivor from that group, the Phoenix, that went back round the north of that northern island, and looks like they're going to come back through the middle. Some help would definitely be appreciated right now. I don't have to dodge 2 carriers worth of planes for too much longer, of course, but trying to do all this, trying to finish off this carrier whilst simultaneously dealing with Tucky is, yeah, it's a wee bit tricky. And, oh, I might just avoid that torpedo. I did. Phew, okay, that one I'm going to take, though. That's unfortunate. I could have run myself aground there, of course, but that would have put me in an even worse position, in that I'd have then been a stationary target for Tucky to shoot at. So, yeah, taking 1 torpedo wasn't great, but the alternative would have been worse there, potentially. Anyway, after finish off this Hermes, I can get myself a Kraken. I've already got a high caliber and a Confederate, and so I just need to keep pew-pewing. I just need to not die, not get detonated by bombs or something, and that would be a rather nice result. You know, 100k damage is also nothing to sniff at either. But this was very good matchmaking. If you get very good matchmaking in a ship like this, if you have some idea of what you're doing, then yeah. I'm not going to say it's easy mode, because these cruisers can die very, very quickly indeed, but it can certainly be easier to pull off things like this than at high tiers. Anyway, nasty bomb hit there. I'm really trying to, there we go, land some good hits against this Hermes. I really want this Kraken. I really do. But RNG's is being very cruel right now. With the number of shots I've put out against the Hermes, you would think this would be mine. But no, the Phoenix just beats me to the kill. And because the Phoenix was trying to kill steal rather than shoot the closer thing that's been shooting at them, well, you can see how badly they were angled versus Tucky, in that they just got nuked from about half health. So, oops, oh well, that now just leaves me versus Tucky. And he's now got himself a Kraken. God damn it, I wanted a Kraken too, but oh well. If I can get Tucky, maybe. However, it's all about to go horribly wrong, because oh yeah, I'm not dodging that, am I? There's no way to dodge that. I frantically try and see if I can get past it by turning, because I'd already turned too far to be able to turn back the other way in time, but no. Because I was already in that turn when the drop was happening. That was that. So, Kraken denied. I was absolutely just, I'm going to say I was cock-blocked by that Phoenix so hard, and by RNG. I got them down to 62 hit points. If I just had one more shell that had hit, instead of some of the slightly not great RNG with some of those. Yeah, anyway. So what we then had was the next 4 minutes of Tucky dodging double CV attacks. And I actually made a point of, saying that in the chat. They're so fun, right, Tucky? He really can't do anything at this stage. The fact that both our CVs are alive with the timer running down, and he was on okayish health, but he has taken one big enough hit that now he's very, very close to dying. It just remains to be seen whether they can get him in the dying seconds. If he'd somehow gotten through the middle and been able to disrupt the cap and kill both our carriers, maybe, but that's a big if. So I had a charming little bug with this game where I didn't get to save my own score screen, but Tucky sent me his, so there you go. I can see that I'm top of the team, 1700 base XP there, and we also get to see Tucky's result with Confederate and a Kraken, and obviously top of his team on that loss as well. It's a really annoying bug. Wargaming are aware of it. They are aware of what's causing it and are hopefully fixing it before the next patch, because it's really annoying on occasions like this, when not even it not just popping up at the end of the game, but where it just outright eats your result and you can't see your score screens, which is especially annoying when it's a game I want to show off. But anyway, because Tucky was kind enough to send me his, we at least got to see what my XP was. So that's it for this replay. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you did, you can do all the usual things down underneath the video, and of course, as always, stay tuned for more.